What is up, good people of the ENC? Your girl, Jackie Paige here from 101.9 Kiss FM, the Midday Chick. And I am here with another Meals Made Easy video. As you can see, we are live in full effect here in my kitchen. And today, I'm going to show you how to make an omelet. Now, I know for a very long time, I struggled with how to make omelets. And that's because nobody showed me, nobody told me what ingredients they put in theirs. So I figured I would pass this wonderful meal, very easy, very simple meal, along to you guys. So, what you will need for your omelet. Obviously, some eggs. So you'll need eggs, spinach. If you like spinach in yours, I like spinach. My omelets are very simple, so I go with the eggs. I go with spinach, and then some form of meat. It doesn't necessarily have to be this meat, but it can be, bacon. It can be sausage. This is what I have open in the refrigerator, so this is what I'm going to go with. And an omelet is not complete without a little bit of cheese. So my secret ingredient. Are you guys ready? I love these right here. These Velveeta mini blocks have simply changed my life, especially when it comes to making my omelets. Why, you ask? Because they have these cute, really petite 4-ounce blocks of gold. And when I say these are blocks of gold, these are blocks of gold. They make life and making omelets so much easy. So I love these so much. These are like best friends when it comes to making my omelets. And again, these are the Velveeta mini, I'm doing this wrong, the Velveeta mini blocks. And there are 5 that come in here. And you can use this for a lot of different things, not just omelets. You can also use it for baked potatoes, which I've done that as well. And I have a secret and special spaghetti that I like to make with it, chicken spaghetti that I like to make with this as well. But you can do a lot with this. So if you are like me and you need a quick and easy meal to go, pick this up. You can pop the little the blocks of gold in your meal, and boom, 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 you are good to go. And as you can see, I've been already using this, so I kind of used some of it earlier, put it in the refrigerator, and using it again now to show you guys how to make this omelet. All right, so now that you guys have all the ingredients, the first thing that you want to do, and we're going to be moving around my kitchen a lot today just because with an omelet, you kind of have to see how it's done. So what you need to do first is you need to, on your stove, you want to make sure that you have your stove on about medium heat. And you want to get a fairly decent sized pan, just because with an omelet, you're going to have to flip it. So once you get your fairly decent sized pan, you want to get your Pam spray. And I highly recommend Pam spray just because it does make it a lot easier to flip the omelet. So you want to get your Pam spray. The first thing we are going to cook is going to be the sausage. So you want to get this all nice and lathered. Put it on the eye back there. Once you have that all nice and lathered, then you want to get out your respective meat. Like I said, I am doing the this sausage, turkey sausage. Don't have my knives out. All right, so once you get your utensil of choice, knife, then you just want to cut it up in small pieces. Now with bacon, I would recommend that you cook the bacon first, and then after you cook the bacon, crunch it up so it goes into smaller pieces. And then with sausage, you can obviously, kind of chop that up so that's not an issue. Now with this particular sausage, you are going to have to cut it up into smaller pieces. So I typically cut it up into a piece about this size, and then I cut it in half. And then once I cut it in half, then I'll actually move into the process of cutting it into smaller pieces. And my pieces literally are they're about that big, so not too big at all. And this is actually perfect size for the omelet, so take the opportunity to cut all of those. So I'm going to take a chance to finish cutting up my piece of sausage, and I'll be back in a second. All right, good people, so I have cut up my sausage, and as you can see, they are in nice little squares, and if you don't like them to be that big, then just, cut them up a little smaller. Once you have done that, then you want to pop them in your pan, and like I said, you want to make sure that your pan is on medium heat before you put anything in there, just because it does make the process of it cooking a lot faster. Now, I like to have a little firmer of the cooked meat, so I will actually put this in here until it is brown. So I'm going to put this over here in this pan. And as you can hear, it is sizzling and doing all that fun stuff. So as I am waiting for that to go ahead and do what it needs to do, cooking-wise, as it's browning, I like to go ahead and prep my eggs. So the prepping of the eggs piece is significantly easy. It's not a hard process at all. I personally like to use egg whites because they are a lot healthier. So I'm actually going to take the opportunity take a chance to pull the yolks out. And one of the things that I've learned about yolks is to pull them when you're trying to pull the yolk out, is go ahead, pull the whole egg into the bowl or whatever you're using, and then just go in and pull the actual yolk out. And then you see me doing this a few times, actually moving the yolk from eggshell from side to side, just to make sure if there's anything extra that I can get out, I'm getting that out. So you're only going to need, and this is again depending on how big you want your omelet. I typically like my omelet to be it's a fairly decent size, so I only use about 2 eggs. But again, I let my yolk drop, and this one actually broke up a little bit. And it's okay if your yolk breaks up. Mine does it all the time. If you don't want any yolk in there, then you can take all day to take the yolk out. If I get a little yolk in there, it's perfectly fine. I just let it sit in there. It gives my omelet some color. So that's perfectly fine. So once you have done that, and here is my eggs, if you can see it a little bit. Once you have done that, then you will want to get a fork or a knife, and then stir up your egg. And you want it to be to the point where it's a little cloudy, because that lets you know that it's all mixed up. And that is with the egg yolk or the egg white in it. Just mix it up to the point where it's a little cloudy. And then once it's a little cloudy, then you know you're pretty good. Alright, so now that that's taken care of, this is what the cloudiness looks like. Like I said, just to the point where it's a little cloudy. My sausage is burning. It's burning. It's cooking. It's getting a nice crisp on it. Like I said, I like mine to get a little brown. This process right here only takes about 5 or so minutes, so you definitely want to keep your eye on it. You do not want to take your eye away from it that long, because if you do, it will crisp a little bit more than what you want it to crisp. All right, good people. So I am back. As you can see, my sausage is in here. It is brown to a nice crisp, just the way I like it. So now it's time to pull this out and get ready to actually make the omelet. So I'm actually going to move this to a plate over here off to the side. And I'm actually going to use the same skillet, the same pan that I used to make the sausage in to actually make the omelet. So you want to make sure that you respray the pan, because if you don't respray the pan, your omelet will get stuck. And whatever sauces that you decide to use, the grease that comes from that isn't going to be enough. So this is where the fun happens. So the next thing you want to do is you want to grab your egg mix. You want to pour that in, and like I said, about in medium heat. So you want to pour that into the skillet. As you can see, it's cooking. Once you pour that into the skillet, this is where you get to add your sausage. If you like peppers, anything like that, feel free to put peppers in it. Whatever you want to put in your omelet, you are more welcome to do. I am fairly simple when it comes to mine, so I will just keep it simple with sausage and spinach. On occasions, I will do tomatoes, but then you can put your spinach in. So as you can see, and I'm not even taking the time to cut the spinach up. Why? Because it will cook, the spinach will literally cook right into the omelet, which makes it just so yummy. So I've put my spinach in, and you don't need a lot of spinach. You can just sprinkle a little bit on. So now that that's cooking, you can actually see, and I'm going to move the camera over just a little bit more so you can see that. Perfect. You don't want to touch your omelet until your edges have started to cook out. So as you can see, I'm letting my omelet sit here for a few minutes, for about 2 minutes, and my omelet, the sides of my omelet is actually starting to cook out. So once I notice that it's starting to cook out, then I can take my spatula, and you don't want to be rough with this by any means. You want to be gentle, because again, this can break and you don't want it to break. So then I'm going to take my spatula and just flip it over and let it cook for a few seconds on the other side. And it is okay if some of the extra food that you put in, if it comes out. On occasions, my spinach will pop out. On occasions, some of the meat will pop out. That's perfectly okay. Once you're done cooking it on the other side, you can actually take that, whatever popped out, and you can push it back in. Now, the next thing I'm pulling out is my Velveeta mini blocks. And as you can see, I have been using some of the mini blocks already. I've already cut this one. So with this, you just want to cut a small piece, and it really just depends on how much Velveeta you want in it. That's about how much I like to use. So a nice little square, and I'll actually cut this up into 4 additional little squares, or not 4, but I'll cut it up into some additional little pieces and set it off on my plate, off to the side. So a few other small pieces. So you want to let your omelet sit on this side for a few minutes. Once it's done that, flip it back over. And as you can see, some of my meat has come out, and that is perfectly fine. But it's cooked on both sides. Once you see that it's cooked on both sides, then you can go ahead and add your Velveeta cheese. Just like so. And I will actually let my omelet sit on here just a little while longer, because I want the omelet on one side to get warm enough so when I flip it over to actually make the omelet, it's warm enough to actually melt the Velveeta cheese. All right. So this is the fun part. You take it and you flip it. And once you flip it, you can take your spatula it down just a little bit, pull it off of the skillet, and voila, there is your fancy, simple, and super easy omelet.